Most agents never hit their goal every single year, and this is a consistent theme because unfortunately most people don't know how to properly prepare and set goals and then reverse that into a tactical business plan that's almost going to guarantee, as long as you follow it, that you hit those goals every single year. So I don't want you to be one of the agents that fail, because 87% do, so I'm gonna make sure that you are one of the 13% by the end of this video. So let me break down what's gonna happen. Number one, I'm gonna break down the 5 things you need to do in sequential order of exactly how to create your business plan in order to make sure that you're on the proven path to smashing your goals every year, because maybe you're at the end of the year realizing you didn't hit it this year, or maybe you're starting a new year or just got your license and you want to be put on the right track, the straight and narrow. Now, the second thing I'm going to do is the most important thing, which is at the end. And what I'm going to do is break down the 5 key principles that you need to apply this with, which are ninja tricks in order to make sure that you're actually on track to following this business plan. Now, nobody else on YouTube that I've seen related to real estate actually breaks down these ninja tricks, so you're not going to want to miss that. So what I want to do now is share my screen, walk through this with you to make sure that by the end of this video, you're fired up and ready to dominate the next year in real estate. What's up, guys? It's Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty, and I'm excited for this video because I just want to see you win. As I'll talk to you about, one of my goals in terms of my long-term goals is help 1,000 agents make $1 million, and I've helped a number of agents do that this year, which I'm very honored to say. But let's start diving into this. Step number 1 of the first 5 steps, and you cannot skip any of these because you will miss something incredibly important, and I don't want you to. So starting out with the first thing, short-term, mid-term, long-term, lifetime, afterlife goals. The issue is a lot of people only focus on the next year, which is the mid-term goal, the 1-year goal. Or they can't even think past the next deal, which could be a short-term goal. But as I'm going to explain here, you need the long-term, lifetime, and afterlife goals in order to create an anchor that's actually going to help you stay consistent to your goals. So let me break this down in terms of how I approach it. Now, I won't build this out in its entirety because you need to do this specific to your business, but I'll give it a couple talking points, and then I'll give you an idea of what I'm doing and what the average agent might be doing. The first thing I like to start with is the midterm goal, because this is the 1-year goal. So maybe the average agent wants to do 24 deals in the next year. So you want to do 24 deals next year. Okay, great. Well, you can go down or you can go up. I like to go up first, and I like to reverse engineer that into the short-term goals. And steps 2 onward, after I break this down, are actually going to give more clarity to this. But this would essentially equate to 6 deals per quarter if you reverse engineer that. Now let's look at the long-term, because short-term is kind of the, if you will, 3-month mark. This is every quarter. This is 1 year. And then when we look at long-term, I consider this kind of 5 to 10 years. Lifetime obviously depends on age or, your health. And then legacy is afterlife. So this is what you want to do in terms of creating things like generational wealth, the impact that you want to make, all of the things that are just more than you, bigger than you. And that's ultimately what is most important in business. So if we start looking at this, a couple long-term goals might be, if you look in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe you want to do $1 million per year. Lifetime goals, maybe you want to be to the point where you can retire at 50. And legacy goals, maybe you want to get to the point where you can donate a certain amount to charity as you pass away, and or maybe you want to be able to leave a trust for your kids of a certain amount, say 7-figure amount, anything like that, or things that you want to do long-term. Now, these are business goals. So let me explain how to actually populate this before going on to step number 2. Despite these being business goals, I actually break these out into 4 key categories. The first one is wealth, which is this, right? This is business, this is wealth, this is all about finance in terms of the money that you're making. But then you've got health. So I break down health goals as well into short-term, mid-term, long-term, lifetime, afterlife goals. Then I break down love, and love is relationships in general, relationships with friends, relationships with family, relationships with significant others, things like that. But it's all about connection, if you will. And then you've got happiness. And happiness is going to be the things related to your personal interests, like hobbies, passions, things you want to try, bucket list things, all of that. So you want to take all of these and you want to essentially be able to write out all of these goals for each one of these different things: short-term, mid-term, long-term, afterlife, legacy goals. So now what I want to do is break down how to take this to the next step, because the reason why you want to do it this way is because of the most important aspect of why agents check out. Most agents give up because of the fact that they're so used to disappointing themselves. Now, what you'll see is that when most agents start to write out their long-term, lifetime, and legacy goals, they are related to things like family, time, experiences, and those are really important things. And what's going to happen is that you want to end up taking this, creating a vision board. And when you have a vision board, you've got a physical anchor. So when you don't feel like doing the stuff in steps 2 to 5, then you're going to then think about your family and disappointing your family versus disappointing yourself. So it's really important to be able to write out these longer term vision goals, because that's going to make sure that you're consistent with the rest of these steps in order to actually make sure that you're on track to hit them, because you don't want to disappoint your family. You want to create the time freedom and you want the experiences that life has to offer. And you're never going to be able to think in that frame if you're just thinking in the next year. So we have to think long and then reverse engineer it into short term. So now let's talk about step number 2, because step number 3 is one of the most important ones as we break it down into more granular level. But the second thing we need to do is identify, okay, if we're going to do 6 deals per quarter, 24 deals per year, how are we actually going to get those clients? Because there's a multitude of different ways that you can get clients. You can prospect, which is things like door knocking and cold calling. You can network by either hosting or attending networking events, joining B&I chapters, things like that. You can also leverage social media and lead generation, which is like paid Google, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook ads. And you can do things like marketing, which is free content like YouTube videos, Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, things like that are organic in nature that can drive traffic to you. So it's really important to then say, okay, if I'm going to do 24 deals, then what are the avenues I'm going to take to get clients? And my recommendation is choosing one that's proactive, one that's reactive. Proactive in nature is going to be something in the nature of prospecting, where you're controlling the amount of people you're getting in front of every single day proactively. Cold calling, door knocking, networking, things like that. Strategic partnerships with lenders, title reps, all of that good stuff. Now, the second thing is you want to choose one that's more delayed gratification, which is more reactive, like YouTube would be my number one recommendation, because there's hundreds of agents in my group now attracting clients every single month directly for free from their YouTube videos, because it's SEO, it's evergreen, and it's something that is much more scalable, and there's almost no competition in any market. But you have to identify what you're actually going to do to get those 24 deals, because they ain't falling out of the sky. And the other component to this before going on to step 3 is looking at repeat and referral. One of the most popular things I see agents struggle with is that if you talk to any top producing agent in North America, or the world for that matter, I can almost guarantee that every single one of them is going to tell you that they live off repeat referral in their sphere. Well, that comes from properly leveraging your CRM and your database. If you talk to any agent that's doing low or no production, all of them are going to tell you they're not consistent with their database, they don't even use one or have one, and that they're not leveraging their CRM. That is a very easy disconnect to draw a parallel between, and I want to make sure that you're not doing that, because the easiest and most profitable deals come from repeat and referral. So if you want to start scaling your production next year, you have to learn your CRM. Now let's break down number 3. So step number 3 is then taking that annual goal and breaking it down into quarterly goals. If you look at the people that are hyper productive, a lot of them operate on a 12-week year. And by operating on a 12-week year, what it does is it gives you enough time to get significant activities done, but it's not so long like a year is, in order to not be able to control how you're on track to actually hitting it. So operating on a 12-week year allows you to have 4 Januaries, because everybody comes into January all excited, but then they die off by like March. Well, if you have another year, April 1st, well, now you get excited again. And every quarter, it gives you a new opportunity to start fresh, but also inch your way towards your goal. So reverse engineering it into the 12-week year is incredibly important. And I don't even need to go into a ton of context, because if you want to, drop a comment below and I'll give you a full breakdown of how to reverse engineer everything into an exact 12-week year that I did with my business partner. And we can share that with you, because it was an incredible video and he actually gives you a full daily schedule to follow. So just drop a comment below if you want that, because the fourth thing is actually reverse engineering that into daily goals, which is exactly what my business partner talks about in that same video. So I want to skip to number 5. So now diving into number 5, this is your daily power list. And you can see that I use this all the time for myself. I've got all my notes written here. I'm checking it off every day with my little highlighter here. But the power list is what's going to be the biggest game changer. And what you want to be doing with the power list is 5 income producing activities that move the needle of your business profitably every single day. This is not groceries. This is not, putting the dishes away and doing laundry and stuff like that. This is income producing activities. So for example, a lot of people ask what a power list could look like. It could be like 3 hours of prospecting. And if you're prospecting, I chose door knocking in the beginning. A lot of people choose cold calling, depending on what you're more comfortable with. Both are uncomfortable, but it's what needs to be done if you actually care about growing a successful business. And then the next thing could be like, record 1 video. Now, I recommend batching your content, but this could be something more in the moment, like a TikTok or an Instagram reel, kind of on the daily. Whereas with your YouTube videos, you want to batch your content by just taking 1 day and do your entire month's worth of content. Now, another thing could be looking at follow up with Sphere. And this could be for an hour. And when we start looking at the next thing, maybe it could be something like CMAs or home evaluations for maybe 3 properties that people, your leads are interested in, things like that. And then the final thing could be studying the market data. And this is going to be able to make sure that you keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your market and be able to put out proper videos on market reports, things like that, as well as properly inform your clients. But this is something that will move the needle of your business every single day. If you do 3 hours of prospecting, 1 video, follow up with your Sphere for an hour, do CMAs or market evaluations for properties, listings, things like that, and study market data. Like if you do this every single day, you're going to be pretty much on track to be hitting your goals. But now what I want to do is, again, the video that I do with Louis that you can comment for, it breaks this down in even more granularity, but I want to talk about these 5 key principles that you need to actually approach your goals with. All right, so diving into the last 5 principles that are extremely important if you actually want to have a hope of hitting these goals and have confidence that you're going to be put on the right track. Number 1, what gets measured gets managed. One of the big issues is that people get to the end of the year, like maybe now, or depending on when you're watching this, and then they want to double their business next year. Maybe they had a terrible year and they didn't hit what they want to do and they want to grow next year. They have no data as to what went well, what went wrong, which ads performed the best, where their clients came from, where their leads came from, how many contacts it took to get a lead and then an appointment and then a listing or a buyer. They have no data. And what happens is people end up going into the next year with no context as to what actually worked well. So they didn't measure it and now they can't manage it. So they end up doing a lot of the same things they did last year, hoping for different results. But we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. So you need to start tracking everything. All the top producers I know how many times they need to reach out or how many impressions they need to get for a Facebook ad to convert into a lead, into an appointment, into a listing. Everybody that I know that's a strong agent knows how many cold calls or door knocks they need to make in order to get how many contact information, which leads to how many conversations, and then booked appointments and then listings. So when you can start to measure your business as you're going through these activities, let's say your goal is 24 deals this year and you don't hit it, you do 18. Well, if you measure everything, next year you can do 36. You can double it by cutting out the things that didn't work and doubling down on the things that did. But you have to measure everything. Number 2, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Let me explain. Let's look at the people that go to the gym, for example. You see some people that are at the gym every single day for years, and they look the same this year as they did last year. And they're going to look the same next year as they do right now. Because the thing is it's not just the act of doing an activity, like going to the gym. It's how you do it. How intense are you? Are you walking? Are you running? Are you doing reps with weight that's comfortable or are you pushing yourself? What are you doing nutrition-wise behind the scenes? The same thing goes for your business. So there's prospecting, for example. You can call to make 100 contacts or 300 contacts, or you can call with the intent of not getting off the phone until you've tried everything humanly possible to get contact information, because a lot of people have some freaking coach that says, go do 300 phone calls a day. And what's going to happen is you're going to go do 300 phone calls, but people are going to say, oh, I'm not interested. And you hang up and you're on to the next one because you're going for volume. If you want to win, you have to go for quality and intent, which is handling the objections and really pushing to get that contact information. Number 3, consistency is key with the right activities. Again, as you saw the power list, we want to make sure that we're breaking down the activities that are going to move the needle of our business, that are going to make sure that we're actually making progress every single day and not just spinning the tires, because unfortunately, a lot of people are busy, they're not productive. So they're filling 10, 12, 14-hour days or 16 like myself, but they're not getting anything done. They feel like, where did the time go? I got nothing done today. Well, that's because you didn't get anything done today, because at the end of the day, you're being busy, but you're not being focused and productive because you're not being consistent with the right things. You're being consistent with the things you want to do, not the things you know you need to do. Number 4, calculate your hourly rate. This is incredibly important because one of the things that you need to do in order to scale your real estate business is look at how much do you make per hour, just averaging. Let's say you want to do 6 figures a year, whatever, and you're worth like $50 an hour, $100 an hour. That's what you want to be worth based on your production. Well, if you're spending an hour designing a thumbnail on Canva that could be outsourced to somebody on Fiverr for $10 that's going to do it way better in a fraction of the time, you're now valuing yourself at $10 an hour, which is lower than minimum wage. How are you going to go make 6 figures? You can't, but you're doing it as a distraction because you know you have the skill set to technically take a template and edit it. But the problem is that that is not the highest return on your time invested. You should take that hour to do 1 more hour prospecting. Take that hour to follow up with your database. Take that hour to network or record 2 more videos or do more volume, more content, not doing these little activities that you should be outsourcing. But the only way you can strategically outsource is if you actually know how much you make per hour. So if something is less than what you would make per hour, if you invested your time into high leverage activities, then you can outsource it. But if you don't know that number, you can't do it. And number 5 is the most important one in my opinion, which is aligning with the right people. If you look at our group at the Wolf Pack and why so many agents are double, tripling, quadrupling, even 10xing their production in 12 months, we've had new agents go from 0 deals to 75 in 12 months, up to 87 in their first year. Well, that's because you're running with a group that are all pushing to grow at the highest level, that are all wanting to see you win, all sharing their best information, not hoarding it like you get at a physical brick and mortar brokerage, because we're geographically unrestricted and this is a global opportunity. Not to mention all of the training where you get all of my social media training for free and you get all of our production training, accelerator programs, how to leverage your CRM, mindset, goal setting, business planning, down to the finest detail so you can follow it, and my one-on-one coaching. So aligning yourself with a group that's actually going to point you in the right direction and be there to help you look every quarter and make the right adjustments and measure everything and look at the data, that is what's going to be the most powerful decision in order to make sure you go forward and smash your goals every single year. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please drop a comment again if you want any of those recommended videos that are going to help you dive even deeper into this. And thanks so much for the support. So please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.